author developed a bit further the idea of the connection of God to the neshama and how that makes us God-like, as it were, through the neshama. And I believe 2 points that he made was that just as, and I made the point, this is kind of related to the Gemara, which says just as God sees and is not seen, so the neshama sees and is not seen. We cannot see the neshama, but the neshama enables us to see and understand so many different types of things. And also, just as the soul occupies the entire body, so God is like the soul of the entire world. Or just, yes, the presence of God permeates the world, the presence of the soul permeates our bodies. And it's through then the soul that God knows the deeds of a person, because it's like God's searchlight within us, God's candle within us. So on Reish Nun Gimel, I believe we got up to the paragraph starting with the word lefi. Lefi me'ata koyach ve'koitzer chaim shenosam noi elukim, according to the limited amount of koyach, strength, power, u'koitzer chaim, and length, or the shortness thereof, of life that God gave to a person being. Hosif HaKadosh Baruch Hu yetzer hara letavasoi u'lerasoi. God imparted within man the yetzer hara for his good or for his bad. We might have done this section. Kedei levachanoi v'nasoisoi ben toiv u'ben ra, in order to give him a trial to choose between good and evil. Kedei lihisna'ois v'divnois v'dintoya v'laharois v'la'akor natuya v'la'aroi v'liased litzbor hoin v'lachem limshol lishlo liktsoif ad meod. We did do this. I'm going to just paraphrase it, therefore, that God gave us the inclination to do many, many very good things. And if it weren't for the Yetzer Hara, and if it weren't for the Yetzer Hara, then a person wouldn't really have the incentive to be engaged, for example, in having children, because he said, all of this work that I'm going to do, what's the point? I'm going to die. What do I need it for? What do I need to bring the children into the world for? So forth and so on. Why should I work hard if I'm going to die? As a result of this, that the world would all go to decay. Therefore, he says, the Kadosh Baruch Hu created people with the, let's say, inclination for material desires, and these material desires, therefore, fuel the improvement of the world. The point is, therefore, then, that it's the Yetzer Hara makes the world go round, but it's the Yetzer Tov which makes sure that we use the basic drive of the Yetzer Hara for good, so that people desire intimacy, resulting in their having children, but that desire should be harnessed towards expressing that desire in the proper permitted context and raising the children in a proper Torah upbringing. Or a person's desire for money fuels a need to work and contribute to the world, but his intention should be to literally contribute for the good not only of himself, but the good of the world. And many other examples where the things that we do are basically a result, are fueled by a desire or the need to fulfill our basic kind of drives, needs, desires. The main thing is to harness those drives for good. Somebody who does that, so kol biras Hashem Baruch Hu, all in the context of being God-fearing, below avoin v'fasha, and not using these drives for transgression or sin, zoi tavasoi, this is for the good of mankind, v'ashra v'asher yodato, it would be good for him, and good is the portion of the person who birthed him, his mother, his parents. U'kamo she'adam dome me'at mzer le'elokim, ken binyan gufo dome l'chol ha'olam. And just like, way down at the bottom of the page, last paragraph, starting with the word uchmo, just like a person is in small similitude to God, ken binyan gufo dome l'chol ha'olam, so his body, the construction of his body, parallels the creation of the world. Also lo gulgoles harosh, he made for him the skull of the head, Kamo rakia hashamayim, like the firmament in the heaven. Shal rakia hazeh, also lo tikro hel yoina shel peh, unatuos ba shinaim umataos. He's got a firmament upon a firmament. Maybe the lower firmament, he says, is like the arc of the top of his mouth. And there's planted in there teeth and jaws. K'demus rakia hazeh she'alenu, which is like the firmament of the heaven above us. U'kamo shemavdil harakia hazeh she'alenu ben mayim elyonim lemayim tachtonim, and just like the heaven above us separates the upper waters from the lower waters, the upper heavens from the lower heavens, ken gam hatikra elyoina, turning over to page Reish Nun Daled, gam hatikra, the second line, gam hatikra elyoina shel peh, so the upper cavity of the mouth. There's a word for that in English, like the palate. I don't know if that's the right word, but the upper arc part of your mouth. Shel peh mavdila ben halecha shel peh u ben halecha sheberosh. This kind of division separates between the liquid part above your head and your brain and the lower part in your mouth. U ben halecha shebekarom he'elyon. There's a book called Blade Runner. Anybody ever read it? You heard of the book? Blade Runner. No, Kite Runner, I'm sorry. Blade Runner was the name of a movie. The Kite Runner. Blade Runner was the name of a movie when I was a kid. Kite Runner, the Kite Runner. Anybody heard that? Read that book? Anyway, so you've got the roof of your mouth. That's what it's called. The roof of your mouth. Yeah? So the roof of your mouth is like the firmament which separates between the upper waters and the lower waters, the upper realm and the lower realm of heaven. So that corresponds in our cranium to the firmament between the lower waters and the upper waters of the brain. And just as God concentrates His presence in the upper heavens above, shekir alamayim, which is above the firmaments above the water, the upper firmament, as is written, hamikare v'mayim al yosav, His upper chambers have been ceilinged with kind of ceilings of water. Ken shiken es ruach nishmas chaim, so too He caused to dwell the living spirit of our soul, v'hadas, and the knowledge, v'abin, understanding, b'krum hamoyach shel rosh, in the brain material within our head. Hanikram al moyach v'alalecha, which is above, right in the area of the brain, the wet portion above the palate, the roof of the mouth. Urei v'haven ha'emes, see the truth. Ki'im gikara kurum hamoyach o yinakev, if the brain membrane will become torn or pierced, miyad yomos ha'adam, the person will die immediately. Because that's where his soul resides. Basically what he's saying is that man's physiology mirrors creation. Just as in creation you have a heavenly realm which is separated by a divider, so too our upper sphere is that defined by the cranium, within which you have a dividing line, that's the roof of the mouth, separating between the upper and the lower part of that area, where just as God's presence is concentrated in the upper heavenly realm, so our soul is concentrated in the upper part of our cranium, in the brain. Furthermore, he says, in this lower realm, God's presence is concentrated in the west. Ken shiken esamoyach acharei harosh aloznaim. God positioned the brain in the back part of the head, towards the ears. V'shiken es ruach chaim alamoyach, and He caused the living spirit to dwell upon that brain. I'm not quite sure why he says that. Don't we have like a frontal lobe and a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere and a cerebrum and the whole? I think the brain occupies the whole. I don't know quite why he says that. Maybe there's a greater amount of fluid between the cranium and the brain in the frontal area than there is kind of, so that there's more brain in the backward part of the skull. I'm not sure. And just like the entire world is run by one God, so so too the entire body is ruled over by one soul. Shenitan lo akel yisbarach, that was given to a person by God, may he be blessed. Umiskayem boy lihiyois bori, and it's through the soul that a person's health is maintained. V'iskayem ad bo kitzo, and it sustains a person until his time of departing. V'im yisarev begufo me'uma ruach ra cheres, and if there's any dangerous material that invades his body, lo yiskayem lihiyois kibetachila, he won't be able to be maintained as he was initially, but when he was healthy. U'kemoshe nosan b'rakia shamayim shnei me'orois v'chamisha kochavim, just as God placed in heaven 2 luminaries and 5 stars. He's referring to the luminaries, the sun and the moon, and 5 stars, meaning the other remaining planets, which were known at that time. Now there's Neptune and Uranus. Although I think they say that Uranus has been demoted as a planet. It's not, or Pluto. Pluto and Uranus, Pluto was, I think, demoted as a planet. So you see that the number is not necessarily fixed according to any specific scientific paradigm. That can change. But here he's reckoning what's referred to as like 7 heavenly bodies, the sun and the moon, and then there's Mars and Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn and did I say the sun and the moon? Sun and the moon and Jupiter and Mars and Mercury and Venus. No. I think I said Saturn. Huh?
Not this side.
No? Saturn. Okay. 7. Those are the 7. So take out the sun and the moon, you're left with 5. So the 2 luminaries, the sun and the moon, would correspond, I believe he's going to say, to the 2 eyes. Ken bara b'rosh ha'adam shiva shamoshim. God created 7 of these luminaries. Shtei naim, 2 eyes. Ushtei oznaim, 2 ears. Ushnei necharaim, and 2 nostrils. V'hapeh, and the mouth. 2, 2, 2, and 1. That's 7. Ha'ain ha'yemanis dome lechama. The right eye is like the sun. V'smolis dome lenoiga. And the left eye is like Venus. Ha'af ha'yemanis dome lekochav. The right nostril corresponds to Kochav, Mercury. V'smolis, the left nostril, corresponds to Mars. V'pei v'loshoin v'asvasayim, the mouth, which includes within it, the mouth, the tongue, and the lips, are like Jupiter, Tzedek, Levana, Moon, Shabtai, Saturn. U'kemo shenase ovir ben rakia uven ha'aretz, and just like there's space between heaven and earth, ken nasa b'gufa adam achazeh v'hagvia. So in the body there is a separation between the cranium and the torso. U'kemo shemeshiv haruach ba'avir b'chalalo shel olam, and just like God places air in the empty space of the earth, ken tetze nishmas ruach chaim min hareya shebechaze ubegvia. So there's air, the life-giving air, which is in the sternal cavity, where the lungs are located. Chalalo shel guf, that's the cavity of the body. U'kemo sheroka haaretz alamayim, just as he placed the earth on water. I guess what he means is that we have elevated continents above the sea. Ken karam u'masach karum habasar sha'al ha'kaved v'al ha'beten v'al ha'me'ayim v'al ha'tchol hu basar sheben ha'reya u'ben ha'kaved v'ha'tchol v'ha'me'ayim v'ha'beten. So he's saying, God kind of spread out, materialized a type of a division of tissue above the liver, and the stomach. Maybe he means to be maybe the actual the stomach, like the digestive organ, the mayayim, the intestines, and the tchol, the spleen, and this would separate them from the rea, the liver, and the lung and the liver and these other visceral organs. Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen anatomy, but there is this tissue that separates part of the bodily cavity, and from the wording here, I'm not sure what he means. If the division is seen as being between the lung and the other visceral organs, or underneath the visceral organs, separating kind of the, But I think that it's referring to the fact that there are lungs, and underneath the lungs there's like the diaphragm. Is that what it's called? That separates the cavity where the lungs kind of expand and detract from the liver and the other visceral organs which are lower down. Am I getting this right, Eric? He seems to be suggesting that just like God created the continents, which are kind of elevated above the waters, so too he's saying that in the bodily cavity there's some separation between some of the organs and the others. And I think he's saying he's describing a division between the lungs and the liver and the other types of organs which are lower down spatially than the lungs. It's very interesting kind of dissection of human anatomy in finding a correlation between that and kind of the setup of space, the universe, and planet Earth, and the luminaries and the like. It's an interesting idea. I'm also quite not sure how or upon what basis he says that a particular planet corresponds to a particular nostril or eye. For example, the sun, he says, is the right eye, and Venus, he says, is the left. Or regarding the nostril, he says that Mercury was to the left and to the right, and Mars to the left. Interesting. Right. The right eye is the sun. The left eye is Venus. The right nostril is Mercury. The left is Mars. Other than in general, I mean, in Kabbalistic terms, the right-hand side is usually considered to be masculine or things having to do with chesed. The left-hand side is usually feminine, having to do with din. And maybe why he says that the sun is the right eye. Venus, which is feminine, is to the left. Mercury, chesed, to the right. Mars, blood, red. Din, judgment, to the left. But beyond that, I can't really add much more. How he gets to that, the mouth and the tongue and the lips. The mouth, Jupiter. Why? Because Jupiter, of course, is the largest of the planets. The tongue, Levana. Why would the tongue be corresponding to the moon? Because the moon is very fickle. Yeah, it's light and dark, light and dark. We say, Chaim u'mavis b'yad ha'lashon. Life and death is in the hand of the tongue. We learned that earlier in this book. Remember the analogy of the person who went to get the lion's milk? Anyway, maybe the tongue is kind of fickle in that respect. And the lips, Shabtai, Saturn. Maybe because of the rings. Yeah, like rings, like lips, Interesting. Anyway, ukmosha also kelis barach oifois v'dagim v'chayos v'behemois temimim v'rachmanim milasoik or milashoik zeh lezeh. Yes, just like God made birds and fish and animals and wild animals or domesticated animals, temimim v'rachmanim, who are pure and who are merciful and who do not steal one from the other. V'yesh shehem achzorim, but there are those who are mean, angry, v'torfim, they're predators. U'boilim zeh lezeh, they devour one or the other. Ken also gam b'nei adam, so God made different types of people. Hatoivim nidmu lo'oifois, v'deveimois hatoivim. Good folks are compared to, they show the qualities, the characteristics of docile, harmless creatures. Shenemar, as it says, Yoinasi Somasi, my pure dove. God's referring to the Jewish people. V'nemar, V'ten soini toin marisi, and I will make pasture for my flock. Again, referring to the Jewish people like pasture animals. You know, they're not devouring other animals. They just eat peaceably on the grass. And evil people are compared to wild animals. La'aryeh, like a lion. It says, Dim yoinoi ka'aryeh yichsoif litrof. I guess the prophet, David, a melech, is saying in Tehillim, a wicked man is compared to a lion who's just desiring to devour. He's waiting for the opportunity to kill. V'yesh doimim ledubim ulzevim. Other evil folks are compared to bears and to wolves. Shenemar, as it says, Shofteya ze'evei erev. Those who rule over it. Again, I don't know the exact context of the verse. It's coming from the prophet Sfanya. Shofteha ze'evei erev. Those who judge it are like wolves in the evening. What's particular about wolves in the evening? They're just waiting for nighttime to fall so that under the cover of darkness they can stealthily seek out their prey. And also in the world you've got good and bad fruits and trees and things like this. You have some with a good smell, and good fruits that have good qualities, remedies, medicines. And you have weeds and roots and even fruits who are poisonous and can kill. Like the different types of poison, and thorns and thistles. And good fruits, vegetables, plants, roots, leaves, and all of these things from the vegetable world, they're compared to good people. As is written in Shir Shirim, my beloved, the Jewish people, are like a rose among the thorns. Or like an apple tree among the different other types of trees in the forest, which are non-fruit trees. But the bad, harmful forms of vegetation, they are compared to wicked people. It says, Uvlial kekotz munad kullehem. And those wicked people, they're like a thorn that's kind of thrown out into the public wayfare. So too, those wicked people, they wander around and they're just like public enemies. Yes, public enemy number one. So basically what the point he's making here is that, again, creation is patterned after the kind of primal formation of things in the world. So that, like, he went through how the human physiology kind of mirrors creation, and also the idea of there being good and evil, right and wrong, things that are, let's say, productive as opposed to constructive. We find this theme in the spiritual realm, we find this theme in human beings, and we even find it mirrored and expressed in the physical world, even in plant life and in animals. Ukmoshe also mitachas laoretz tohomos v'tit v'rofesh, and as we find underneath the earth, there are depths full of mud and lava and things like this. Ken also ba'adam hakerev ha'elyon v'ha'me'ayim, so God made mankind with an upper intestine and a lower intestine, shemekablin ma'achal v'mishteh, that receive the food and drink, shortzim min harefesh umin atit shrotzim urmasim leminehem, and just as there are different types of living creatures that live underneath the earth in these muddy, dirty realms, ken nishrotzim b'mi'ei ha'adam mirefesh hashmorim shel manchal u'mishtei shrotzim urmasim. So too, you have these, I guess, types of inferior organisms that live and subsist in that lower realm of the human digestive system. I don't have to elaborate, but different types of living creatures that live in that material. Just like God made a collection of water in the world, I imagine that's referring to the ocean. So God also made a collection of water in the person's body. That's the bladder. Here shalpuchis. Also adnei haaretz lamata mimeno, and like He made pillars, foundations for the earth beneath it. Ken also yasod kol binyan aguf as atzmoi sa'etzo mizeh mizeh. So God made foundation and structure for the body, the bones, skeletal system, one connected to the other. Ushtei yerchaim, resting on two legs, the thighs. U'kumoshe also avonim mefulamois. Don't know what that is. He made some type of stones that were placed underneath the earth. I guess layers and crusts of the earth. Hamushkaos b'tahom, which are submersed in the depth of the earth. Asher mibenehem hamayim yotzim, from within which the different crusts of the earth, water can come out like a geyser. Ken also shte haklayos letzes lavor benehem mitoch gidehen meiraglayim. He made the kidneys through which water can be released from the body. Hu sheten el shalpuchis. That's the urine to the bladder. V'gam lachluach hazera oiver v'yotze minehem el beitze ha'erva, and so too sperm goes out from that place through the testicles. U'kumo shehatahom korei el hatahom, and just like we find in verses that there's a part of the underworld that has some interrelationship with another part of the underworld. A tahom korei el tahom, as it says, tahom el tahom korei. Ken korei kerev ha'elyon, so there's an interrelationship between the upper digestive tract, fu ha'etztomcha, that's the stomach, el heme'ayim, connected to the intestines, lahakbilam shar machal v'mishtei, in order to send to them, pass over to them, the stomach to the intestines, the food and the drink. V'me'ayim korim el gidei haklayos shem etzinoros, and then the intestines are connected to the kidneys and by tubes. I don't remember what the name of those tubes are called. But remember? Eustachian tubes? Is that what it is? No, it's not referring to the urethra. The connection of the kidney. Lahagbilam hamayim, in order to give them liquids, me'oraglaim, and urine. Hem ha mismatzim v'nifrodim min machal, the things which are separated from the food. Heme'ayim meleches el shalpuchis, the waste to go to the bladder. V'tzinoi haklayos korim el gid hashalpuchis lahagbilam b'mayim mehem laholicham lahakvoisam b'toch hashalpuchis shudome letachtoin shuhu tachtoin l'chol tehomos. It's talking deep anatomy here. It sounds quite specific. I can't attest to how accurate it is to current knowledge of anatomy, but I don't know. He's talking about things that are, different organs that are connected to other organs in different ways, and so forth and so on. Is a bit complicated. He's basically saying that the anatomy is related to a verse which says "Tahom el Tahom Kareh," that the depths are call out to the depths, meaning there's a connection between one area of the depths to another area of the depths. And since he's comparing part of our bodies to the depths of the earth, he's showing the interconnectedness of part of the depths of the body to other parts of things which are kind of rooted in the depths of the body, showing how, right, there's an interconnection between the stomach and the intestine and the kidneys and the bladders, and all this stuff is interconnected.
Don't we say Asher Yatzar because of that?
Yes, Asher Yatzar. Yes, we talk about, we bless God for the wondrous forming of the body and all of the different bodily systems, not just the digestive tract, but we say nekavim, chalolim, chalolim. If you open or close just one of them, just for a short moment, we can't stand before you. If things were to get closed that are supposed to be open, or things that are open are to be closed, right? Everything would go topsy-turvy. So we use the activity of relieving ourselves regarding the biological tract as an opportunity to praise Hashem over all of the other wondrous systems that we have in our body: the nervous system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the nervous system. It's all wondrously interconnected and bound. Works more often than not involuntarily. So you don't even have to think about breathing, which is a good thing, because if you fell asleep and you'd forget to breathe, you wouldn't wake up. But God creates all of these systems involuntarily. You don't have to force yourself to digest. All you have to do is eat. Your body involuntarily takes care of the rest. Digests. Right? So the body's doing simultaneously all of these wonderful things without even having to think about it. And that frees us up and be able to follow the baseball stats, things that are really important in life, right? Yeah. Imagine if you had to think about keeping your body running, how would you have enough time to think about professional baseball? But now that we're able to be freed from all of that, we can put our mind to important things. Of course, that's one option. The other option is to be thankful that our minds are free to be learning Torah, and therefore use the opportunity to learn. That's what we're doing. And let's try and just finish off this paragraph here. Further in the middle of the paragraph with the word v'chemo, ken beguf adam shichmek safayim. You've also got the shoulders, ukishrei hazoros, the connection of the arms, v'ar kuvois al birkaim, the knees, v'kishrei kursulayim, and the things which are connected to the heels. Ushar haksharim shel kol evarim. When he talks about the connectors, I think he's referring to the tendons, so that the tendons connect all the different bones together. You have sinews and tendons, which allow flexion, and the opposite, contraction and flexion, so that you can move back and forth. Until God created the world with based upon in its core on strong stones and rocks and things like this. Ken bahar adam hashinaim v'amiltaois shehem koshim kebarzel mikol etzem. So God created man with teeth and with jaws that are very, very strong bones, allowing you to chew. Tremendous pressure between those jaws and your teeth. So God created trees which are soft and hard. Certain bones are hard and others are soft. Bone and cartilage, for example. He created different types of earth, that which is dry and hard and brittle, and other which is soft. So he created flesh, corresponding to the soft earth. V'ha'or keneged ha'eretz akasha. Skin, however, corresponding to like the harder crust, upper crust, which protects the softer earth underneath. So the skin protects our muscles. Okay, it looks like he's going to go on a bit more with this biology lesson. But we're going to have to end here in order to get you guys to the next class on time, and we'll continue B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow. Tomorrow we should finish off the book.